Hey everyone, this is the Unity Make an RPG tutorial. This is episode 31 of our series, and today we're going to continue with finishing up with the character creation and instantiating the player, or in this case this block, into the world, so that we can move on to some different things. So recap the last video. Go ahead and press play. I'll just recap what we have up to this point. We have our class selection. I only have two classes that I've created, but I've added a button so you can see other types. I have a mage and a warrior. You can select the class. You can move your character left and right to if you have a 3D model. In this case, I'm just using a block because I don't have the actual 3D model available to me. So I'm going to go ahead and click a warrior. I'm going to hit next. We added a next button that saves the data, or stores the data, and allows us to use it. We have our different stats that you can see what they do. They're not super detailed, but that's what I did for now. You can increase and decrease depending on what you want your character to have. Then we also have the back button that we added in the last video. We have again, you can rotate the character. You can hit next to move on. We've added the ability to add a first name, a last name, and a bio. What we need to do now is add our gender. So we're going to do male or female. And then we're going to have it set up so when we hit the finish button, we're going to make our final save, where we'll save everything to the computer. In this case, the computer will save it, and then we'll save it in our game information file, and then we'll move on. We'll have it so that we instantiate in the world, and that's where we can use our character movement script and everything that we've done before. So go ahead and open up Mono Develop. I'm in the display create player functions, and gonna figure out where we left off last time. Let's see, where did I put our display final setup? Here we go. So we need to do gender now. I'm going to go ahead and move this bio. I'm going to cut this bio thing and put it right under add a short bio, just because I want to keep it a little organized. So for the gender, if you remember, we created this bool and it's called is_male, and I'm going to start that out to be true at the very beginning. It doesn't have to be true though. It can be, you can set to false if you want the first one to start at female. It's up to you. But what we're going to do is add a toggle switch that is going to allow us to choose male or female. So what we'll do is we'll create a toggle switch now. We'll go, we need to set it equal, so we'll go is_male is equal to a GUI.toggle. That toggle takes a new rectangle, and we'll go 0, 0, 0 for now. It also takes a Boolean value, which is going to be our is_male. And then we're going to have GUI content, which we don't really have right now, but we're going to say male. Okay, and now we're going to actually have to create another bool. We're going to do is_female, just so that there's no possible way that the player can choose otherwise. Now what we could do is do a selection grid instead of using bools, which will actually save us some code. So I'm actually going to change this up a minute, and this will allow you to have more genders. Maybe you have you've created a game that has multiple genders. Let me get rid of this if possible. Maybe it's set in a different timeline, different world. I don't know what you guys are doing, but so we're gonna actually do gender. I made a gender selection is going to be what we're gonna call this. It's gonna be an integer. It's gonna be, I'm not gonna set it to anything. We're gonna keep the is_male bool for now, but we're actually probably not gonna use it. So come back down to where we have gender, and we're gonna create a selection grid. Now we've created a selection grid before, and it should be here, our class selection. If you remember, we did it for our classes, and our class select, it takes a integer value, set it equal to the selection grid, and then it takes a rectangle or a rect, takes the class selection value, it takes a string, and it takes a number of rows. So like I said, come back down to our gender under the display final setup, and we're going to go gender selection is going to be equal to a GUI.selection grid. We're going to go new rect, set it to 0, 0 for now. It's going to take our gender selection variable again, and then it's going to take content, which we'll go ahead and make a string array, a very tiny one, but this will, for us, be tiny. If you have a larger one, that's fine. We'll do gender types. So that's equal to a new string array of 2, of size 2, and we're just kind of male, and I gotta put my quotes, male and a female. So there we go, we have our new string. Put my semicolon there. We have a new string array. It's of size 2 and it's called gender types, and that's what we're gonna have here for our selection grid. So I'm gonna go ahead, just like we did up here, I have class selection names. If you remember, that's also string array. So we're gonna come back down to our display final items function, and after gender selection, I'm gonna use our new types, or new array that we just made, and we're gonna make it. We want 1 column. We'll just make it. We'll have it eventually go too long, 2 down, excuse me, and we're not going to need it super wide, so we're going to make the buttons, let's see, what should I make I guess we'll make the button size 25, 25, and kind of see how that goes. 25, my num lock's off, going to turn that back on. 25, 25, and then we'll set it equal to, let's see what 100 looks like. Yeah. Oh, I'm wrong. Excuse me. I always mess up these rectangles. We need to move this. We're gonna probably get an error, but basically, yeah, it moved. Okay. I'm gonna want to shift it probably about 100 over, which is gonna be these first 2 values. So we want 100 over, and probably just 25 down. We'll do 50 down. We'll do 25 down from the top, 100 from the left for now. I'm gonna go ahead and Control S to save. We'll go into Unity. We'll go ahead, we'll already restart the program. We're going to hit next, next, and we see we have our 2 buttons, which is, so basically we're going to move it up to 10, and we're going to shift it over probably another 100 points. So instead of 100 here, we're going to set it to 200. Instead of this being 25, we're going to set that to actually 10, and 100 seemed like it was good for those buttons. So we'll go ahead and we'll hit play, next, next, and it's almost good. We need to either move the player bio down or make these buttons a little smaller, which that's what I'm gonna do. So instead of 100 long, we're gonna make it, let's try, we'll do 55 because that's where this one, well, that one starts. 50, well, instead of 80. So the reason why I chose 80 is because our last, well, I want it to be start at the top of our first name and end at the bottom of the last name block. And so what I did here is I added this 55. That's where we're starting it, but it's 25 wide. So 55 plus 25 is 80. So Control S to save, and go into Unity and just make sure that worked. It did, and that block actually isn't that long, so you guys don't have to do this. I'm just nitpicking a little bit. 70. There we go. That looks a bit better. That's what I want. Okay, so basically we have our 2 switches here, and now instead of what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep that same Boolean value that is male, and actually no, we won't. We can just get rid of that. What we're gonna do is when we hit finish, we're going to be saving all this information. So what we'll do is have an if statement that basically in we'll have an if statement that's attached to our in our game information script, and we'll just store the male or the gender value bool there. So we're going to go, I'm actually going to go into our game information, and we're going to make a public static bool, we're going to call it we'll just call it gender. we'll call it is male, and basically if we know it's not male, it's gonna be female. You guys might have to change that up if you're gonna have more than one type of character, or more than two types, excuse me, of genders. But I'm not gonna be doing that. So I'm gonna get my getting set for that. So basically, I've added. Just to recap again, we've added everything that I said I would add to this character creation. It's not the most beautiful thing, but it has a lot of things that you guys can definitely build off of and add to your programs and games. Maybe farther down, I want to get into some more fun stuff. Maybe farther down in like 100 videos or something crazy, we can jump back into this and make it a lot more detailed. But as of now, I think this is good. We're going to go ahead and start saving everything that we want to save and create the character. So in our create player GUI, we have our final setup function where we're displaying all of our final setup, which is perfect. What we need to do now is come back into our main items, and we have a button that is our finish button down here where we make this final save. And at that point, everything needs to be in our game information script so that we can just save the game information script. So we're assigning our classes. What we haven't done yet is our stat values and our gender that we just did. So in our down in our next button, we have, let's see. So down here, we're checking to see if we're in our stat allocation module, which we are here under this else if statement. So this is when the player hits next, we're going to be moving to final setup, and that means when they hit next, they have finalized their stats that they want to use. So what we want to do is save those stats. Now we've created this variable where we're displaying. Let's see where it is. We're displaying our stat. Where I can't find it now. Where are we? I can't figure. I don't remember where we saved all of our stat points. It's right here. Let's see. GUI label. That's the toggle. These are the switches. Points to allocate. Here we go. Goodness, sorry about that. So, anyways, we need to save this points to allocate array, this integer array, because those are going to be our new base stats. So what we want to do is save them as our new base stats. So what we can do, that is a public. It needs to be public. So go up to points to allocate. We're going to make that a public array now so that we can access it. And what I want to do is we're going to create a for loop in our next button, which is here. Stat allocation. Yep. No. In our else if statement. Excuse me. I'm going to create a for loop and go ahead and save all this information. So we're going to go int I is equal to 0. We're going to go I is less than our stat allocation module dot points to allocate. That's our array dot length. So we're going to run it. We're going to run this for loop as long as that array is. So depending on how long your array is, it will change. And then we're going to add I. Now this is just going to run once, because then we're going to run to our final setup. So we're going to change state. So like I said, this will only run once. So what we need to do now is, now that we're running through points to allocate, we need to save points to allocate into each I might not do it this way. This would be the fastest way, but we didn't set up our stat points into a array on our character. So if you remember, in our game information script, we're just saving our stats into individuals. So I didn't do a big int array, which you could do. So we have to save these individually. So it's just going to make it so that we have 6 lines of code instead of 6 individual lines of code to save it, which isn't a big deal. So we're actually going to get rid of this for loop, and I'm just going to go stat allocation. Let's see, stat allocation module dot points to allocate of 0. So it's our first index, and we're going to set that equal to our game information. Let's get it back. Come on, IntelliSense. Game information dot stamina. And I still haven't fixed that, but that's all right. So now copy. paste, 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 paste. So go ahead and change these. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have our 6. The next one's going to be endurance. Controls to save. What I want to do is go ahead and make sure we created an error somewhere. Unexpected symbol. Come on, there we go. Oh, don't need that. Okay. So what I want to do is make sure that I save everything correctly. So we go stamina, endurance, intellect, strength, agility, resistance. So so go back to our display create player functions. We know intellect is next, and then it was strength, I believe, agility, and resistance. Oh, not required XP. So now we have all of our stats that are saving, and we're moving on. I can prove this by going to, in our final setup, in our create player GUI, when we're in our final setup, I can just go do a debug.log, and we'll go game information dot, we'll do stamina, we'll adjust stamina to string just so that we can see it. Actually, we don't need to string, I'll just do it anyways. Control S to save. Go into Unity. We shouldn't have any errors. We don't. Gonna hit maze. We're gonna hit next, and I'm gonna increase our stamina. So our stamina is at 12 right now. I'm gonna put all 5 points into it, so we'll be at 17. Okay, I'm gonna hit next, and it's 0, 0 for now. All right. Well, I made a mistake real quick. We need to set game information stamina equal to our points to allocate. So basically, in our display create player function, we need to reverse these. Don't know why I didn't think about that before, but basically you need to go game information dot stamina is equal to that, instead of it being the other way. So now we're saying, okay, our new game information value is going to be equal to that. So just a mistake. It's a simple one to fix. And you go ahead and just copy and paste all this stuff and move it over. You guys can do the same, just so we can stay on the same page. Maybe you caught the mistake before, which is good. It'll be faster just to do this. Alright, so then we got to change it to intellect. We need to change this to strength, agility, and then resistance. Oh, come on. There we go. Alright, so control S to save. This should work now. I'm going to go ahead and press play. Everything's going to clear. So we're going to create a warrior this time. We hit next. We're going to have stamina, which is our health modifier. We're going to add all 5 points to that, so we're at 20. I should hit next, and we should see 20 repeating. And what this is doing, it's repeating. I'm just looking at that stamina variable. Since that's the only one I changed, we can know that we actually have the information here. So now, real quick, before our final save, we're going to be saving our game information. And if you remember, we created a saving and loading script, our save information script. Let me open that up real quick. It's a public class, it's static, and it's save all information. So what we want to do is go ahead and we're going to call that function. We're going to go save information dot save all information. So go ahead and go to our display, and under finish, we're going to go save information dot save all information. Control save. Should be good to go. So now we're saving all the information. We have everything saving in our game. After character creation, the next step is to play in the world. And so I'll go ahead and press play. Mage, done, finish. We've saved all the information we need. I didn't change any of the variables or any of the names or anything like that. That's okay. The there is one thing. We're not actually saving. So before we save, this will be the one last thing we do. Before we save, I actually need to store in our game information our player name. So our player name is going to be equal to our player first name plus our player last name. Right, and then we're going to need a space in between there, so we'll do a parenthesis, we'll do another plus, like that. So we'll have our player name plus a space plus our last name. We'll also need to do game information dot gender, no, is male, and we're going to set that equal to our class selection. So what we need to do is make an if statement real quick. We'll go if class or gender selection is equal to 1 0. So class selection 0 is the first one, so that means it's a male. We'll go gender, there is male. We'll go game information dot is male is equal to true. Then we'll do else. I'm going to do else if just to make sure that we catch it. We'll go gender selection equal to 1. You could do else, but I just like to do this to make sure that we don't have any errors. We'll go game information, goodness, dot is male, and we'll set that equal to false. Alright, so now we're storing our name. Our last two names. We don't have a bio. I'll add that into our game information script right now. We'll go private or public static string. We'll call it player bio. So we want to make these bio capital letters to keep it consistent. We'll do our get and our set. Change this to capital I. So go back into our display create player functions. We can change this to a capital is male. Copy, paste. We'll go game information dot bio is equal to our player bio. Alright, so now we're storing all the information and we're saving it. I'm going to end the video here. It's pretty long. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you like the character creation system. And again, I know it's not pretty, but hopefully you got enough in there to help you complete your game or get it where you want it to be. In the next video, we're gonna start moving on to. I'm not sure. Maybe you've got leave a comment of what you guys want me to start on. Maybe we'll start on battling or just player movement. Terrain creation is gonna have to hold off for a little bit, but we'll get into that soon. So anyways, please like, subscribe, comment. All the feedback's great, and I'll talk to you guys soon.